Hey, Post-Roe Jen. I'm Kristan Hawkins. Welcome to this new episode of the Explicitly Pro-Life podcast. I am so excited because today I'm joined in the podcast by our Executive Vice President, Students for Life, Tina Whittington. Tina actually has come on. We've done some episodes before with Explicitly Pro-Life, but today we're doing something a little different. Now that we're in a Post-Roe America, everything is different. So Tina is going to interview me because we realized I've never been interviewed for this podcast.
So, how the tables have turned.
This could get interesting.
So
maybe I won't be invited back.
So, interestingly enough, we are here 2 days after the Dobbs decision.
That's right.
Roe's been reversed. How do you feel?
It was surreal, I guess. I mean, we've been preparing for this moment for 16 years and we've been talking about it. I've been overwhelmed with Facebook messages, text messages from former staff, former interns, former student leaders who are like, you've been saying this forever and I didn't always believe you, but you did. And look at this, So, I mean, it's weird to see something come to fruition that you've been talking about, preparing for. But I think what really struck me was the day after. So this would have been, we're filming this 2 days after. Yesterday morning I woke up and I woke up by the manager of the hotel where our National Leaders Convention was, conference. And she was complaining about our pro-life students, which we've never in the history of Students for Life gotten complaints by pro-life students, but people are mad, and because the Roe's been reversed. And I got up and I started thinking about, today is Saturday. Today is what's commonly known as like abortion day in America. And there are going to be hundreds of babies saved. I called Dr. New earlier in the week before the Roe decision because I was getting mad because you and the team have been out there at the Supreme Court every decision day since March, kind of waiting for this Dobbs decision that we hoped and prayed to reverse Roe come out. And we had to be there because the pro-life Jen had to be there. But it was like every single day that we didn't get the decision, babies were dying because this decision hadn't been released. So we called Dr. New and we're like, okay, if 26 states, we know there's about 26 states that will immediately move or quickly move to ban abortion. How many lives is that? And he came back in like 2 hours. I was like, I ran the math. It's 882. And I think that was, to me, the thing that struck me yesterday morning was not all 26 states have banned abortion. About 13, as of now, 13 states, it has stopped. I mean, we're talking at least probably 400 babies yesterday that were not aborted in America. And it's so hard a lot of times. We've talked about this a lot of the years to like quantify. All right, we need to raise $20 million this year for Students for Life and Students for Life Action. And we've had supporters who've come back and asked, well, how many babies is that safe? And we're like, I don't know, because we're starting a Students for Life group. We're training 20,000 students who are all going to tell the truth about abortion. And we hear stories, if we're on campuses, like, personally, we might hear a story or we know, okay, we can change 10% of minds or in person, we can change 18% of online minds, but we never hear the numbers. And so like yesterday was like the first day where we had like a number. And I think that was overwhelming to me. It was also, I'm still waiting for the apologies and the I was wrong statements to come out from the pro-life liberals who said, I don't need to vote for a pro-life president that I don't like because his tweets are mean. Politics is nothing. The evangelical kind of mantra of politics is dirty. We don't need to be involved. Let's just skip politics. Mm-hmm. I'm waiting.
You're talking about that T word, aren't you?
What T word?
Trump.
Yeah, I'm talking about Trump. But yeah, I'm still waiting from those people. I've been monitoring their Instagram. Some of them have banned me, but I'm still waiting because
because we were set up for this.
Yeah. And there were some people who said they were pro-life, who go, speak about, their pro-life convictions and have a very touching, moving story, have done amazing things in the pro-life movement, who actively worked against this day coming.
Well, what's interesting, we just got done filming.
I haven't forgotten.
So we just got done filming our little history of Students for Life.
Yes.
Which, what an amazing time to be able to talk about the past when we're birthing a whole new movement today in a lot of ways. But you've been saying we're a post-Roe organization for a long time. So talk to me about like what you thought about this day coming, because obviously you believed that it would happen, but also you kind of built a whole organization for this day. So what were the steps you took to get here? And what are the things we're going to be doing moving forward? So to get here, what did you do differently with our organization at Students for Life to be a post-Roe organization?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was focusing on really the infrastructure and the ground game of that, the realization of, okay, the day Roe is reversed, we will go from mainly a Washington, D.C. fight to 50 state capitals. And looking around in the pro-life movement and realizing that there wasn't an infrastructure. When I joined, so I started working in the pro-life movement, I started working in the pregnancy center. I've talked about that. Well, soon after I got involved, I joined the local Right to Life chapter in my hometown in West Virginia. And I was, the youngest person there by a number of decades. Like, we're talking everyone's 70s and 80s and the church basement, and then me, a 15-year-old girl. And I remember when I was, I think 15 or 16, I must have been 16. It was the summer after I started at the pregnancy center. My mom, the National Right to Life Convention was happening in Pittsburgh. And I convinced my mom to go with me. And I was so excited. So there were like 10 other young people there. 10. And I was like, yes, I'm not alone. But then you kind of growing up into the movement, realizing this is a problem that we don't have vocal, use outspoken activists on the ground at state capitals. Anytime you see a young person talking about abortion, they're always pro-abortion. And I think that's been really the difference for us of realizing this is a major failure of our movement right now, to have this infrastructure on the ground, people who can go to state capitals, people who can, counter the abortion industry when they come to town and have an event or something like that. And so I think that is one of the biggest differences. Like, we always call ourselves like the ground game for the pro-life movement. And I think we saw that, out there at the Supreme Court, the 2 days ago, what national organization was out there? It was us. We were the pro-life organization at the Supreme Court. We were joined by, some of our activists at POW and CWA. Pam and Nance came over from CWA, but that was it. Like, I was actually a little disappointed that there weren't more organizations out there. And I think, thank goodness we were there. If we hadn't been there, there would have been no recognizable pro-life voice. I mean, think about what would the newspapers, all the pictures of either me or you or some of our student leaders that were yesterday in the headlines, what would those pictures been? So
an empty court.
Yeah. The Army has been, I think, the significant thing, and getting that ground game and getting that, how I modeled Students for Life after a political campaign, I think has been significant.
And that was even before we actually had a C4.
Oh,
because I know we did.
We were political before we were even political.
Yeah, legally political. Let's just make sure everyone knows we were legally political. We didn't go past our
we were always abiding by all IRS regulations.
Yes, thank you.
This is what happens when Tina, the vice president's on the.
But we were always pushing that limit and saying, I wish we could do more. I wish we could do more. Right. We can't get involved in this election. We can get involved in lobbying for this legislation, whatever. So launching the C4 in 2019 really is going to have a big impact on how we move forward.
Yeah.
So I wanted to talk through, it's so great because you actually just put this together for the board.
Yes.
Which is officially titled the Students for Life Playbook for Post-Roe America.
Last year was Battle Book. The year before that was Opportunity Book. So I'm running out of words here. But
so I wanted to go through. So just everyone can understand kind of what our plan is. And again,
we're giving away all of our secrets.
Well, here's the cool thing about working at Students for Life. We're a coalition organization. We don't have a lot of secrets.
We really don't. We don't.
We're an open book.
Pretty much.
But it's because we want the whole movement to benefit and grow. So I wanted to go through kind of the playbook for Post-Roe America. A lot of stuff is stuff we've already been doing.
Yeah.
And so it's not a big pivot for our organization, Post-Roe.
I know, I'm feeling an itch to start something new. I'm just warning you now.
Oh, Lord. So how we kind of organized this was the immediate action. So what have we done? I mean,
immediately. So, I mean, immediately there's been a major security concern since the leak decision came out on May 2nd. We've actually had to hire a full-time armed security guard at our headquarters. And there's only about 15 of our employees are at the headquarters, and most of the 100 are spread out. So that was an added expense, which Kristan was not happy about. We have got to take pro-life bumper stickers off our cars at the office and things like that to protect our staff who are sitting in one location. We've had to have security now. We were out the court. We had tons of security guards. One was assigned to me all day. That was fun and a new experience. I'll have security now. Used to be on some campuses, now on every campus. So we've had to make some changes organizationally. You know, the way we do events and even rallies, we've had to. You know, sometimes we say we can't do that today because we couldn't find a security team. And I think that's going to be an ongoing challenge as the violence that the pro-abortion movement is waging against us intensifies probably over the summer.
Through the election.
I think it will die down after the election. This is, they really have nothing else to run on, obviously, because it cost me $10 to get a 12-pack of Coke, which I'm very upset about. So until that price of Coke Zero goes down, they're going to try to make this their big election issue. But I think that will tamper down after the election. We had the Life is Louder rallies yesterday at state capitals. So in 31 state capitals, Students for Life leaders gathered demanding that their state legislature and their governor do the right thing and
protect life
at conception. And so I think that was great. I'm really excited for this idea I had that I roped Tina into running. I had this really great idea and I sent the email. Then Tina's in charge of it. I think she wanted to hurt me. Standing with Her Sunday. And I've talked a little bit about it on the podcast, but so now everybody will actually pay attention to it. I knew it was going to be like next week. Now everyone's going to be like, oh yeah, what was that thing you asked me to be a part of? So Sunday, August 28th, the goal is to kind of arm Christians across America with like a virtual tool belt of, okay, here's post-abortive resources for women and men. Here's maternity homes. Because I think too few Christians know about all the resources out there. And I think that's what, and I know that's what prohibits so many from raising their hand and being like, yeah, I'm against abortion. Yeah, I support what the Supreme Court does, because they feel like they don't have the comeback to when someone tells them, oh, you pro-lifers only care about fetuses before they're born. And so I think if more would know all that we do and the social safety net we've set up, they'd be more likely to join us and to be more bold. So it's going to be Sunday, August 28th, and we need you to go to standingwithhersunday.org, sign up to host this live simulcast at your church on Sunday night or in your small group. Tina will send you a free kit if you do it. We've got Alveda King. I mean, we've got some heavy hitters on John Stone Street from the Colson Center.
Andrew Womack is speaking.
Yes, Pastor Womack speaking.
Alveda King.
Yeah, so I mean, we Senator Langford speaking. James Langford from Oklahoma. Bishop Vincent Matthews, who is the
Church of God in Christ.
That's the largest African American Christian denomination in America. I mean, so there are some major folks speaking at this, so you don't want to miss it. It's just going to get bigger and bigger. So that's immediate.
Yeah. And I also think one thing that's really important about that I want to plug here is that we've also just added Abortion Pill Reversal Network coming and speaking.
Didn't even know that. It's awesome.
So it's kind of an inside baseball thing in the sense of like, even the pro-life movement doesn't really know a lot about chemical abortion, which I know you're going to talk about in a minute. But for pastors to understand, like, their high school students have abortion in their back pocket in their cell phone, and how do you deal with that as a congregation, as a youth minister? And so I'm really excited that we added that in, and that's going to be part of the conversation, because again, I think pro-lifers don't know a lot about it. So if the average pro-lifer doesn't know a lot about it, then you can be sure most pastors don't know much about what what's going to happen there. So, okay,
That's
sorry.
right.
Keep going. What else? What's the next
All right, so that's
thing?
immediate. So now you're talking about the playbook.
Yes.
So the way I kind of look at it is I think there's like 4 main areas we have to play. The first one is what we spend majority of our time and I think our money, the donations that come into Students for Life on, which is growing and sustaining the Army. The pro-life, now post-Roe generation. The second, and I'll dive into each of these because I have things for each of them. I think the second area of play really is for driving the culture, driving the narrative. That's going to be extremely important in the coming weeks and in the coming months. As we set up, this post-Roe era is not scary. And that it's one of opportunity and possibility. The third area is electing leaders and persuading leaders to change the laws. And so that's a lot that we're doing with Students for Life Action, of being involved in primary and general elections, going to state houses. It's the one that makes me the least popular person to be around sometime. And then the fourth area is taking this Army, using these relationships we've built with elected officials and attacking the abortion industry and promoting the non-violent alternatives in our communities. So those are the 4 main areas that we're focusing on Students for Life. And I think what did I miss?
No, that's it. That's it. So let's go to the first one, the grow and sustain the Army. So one thing I really love, I don't know if it was like 4 years ago, you started calling it the Army of Love.
Yeah, the Army of Love.
Yeah, the Army of Love. I love that.
Oh, good.
Because,
how'd you like it? I was worried it was kind of weird.
No. Okay, I thought it was really good because I
might add that into a speech I'm giving tonight then.
Okay. Yeah, no, I thought it was really good because there's so much on the other side that talks about us being oppressing women and, so negative, that to show this is an army of love. We love the preborn. We love women. We love families, and we want to journey with them. And so I just really love that. So talk to me about what are our main points for the grow and sustain the Army that we're investing in this year.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously it's continuing to grow our national field team where we have full-time regional coordinators who cover the entire country. We also now, last year we added
field operations.
Thank you. Field operations coordinators who also cover the country, but they do it from their homes. And so they do a lot of
they do limited travel.
The computer work.
Yeah, answering all the emails and requests that come in through Instagram and getting the groups started and getting the wheels rolling.
Doing the Skype training. So we actually doubled our field team last year by, I didn't realize it. This year we're expanding.
We secretly doubled.
Yeah. That's exactly what's happening.
We snuck that in there.
This year we're expanding. We hired a diocesan partnership grant. So working specifically with Catholic dioceses that kind of oversee all of these Catholic high schools, because that's a multiplication effort. If you can get one diocese, or we have a partnership in Toledo, Ohio with the Catholic diocese there, we've been able to now get into all of the Catholic high schools in Toledo because the bishop there in Toledo is, so much on board of making sure that every student in a Catholic high school knows about the violence of abortion, knows about the alternatives. So I'm really excited about that multiplication of group. I actually think we're going to see a lot of students raise their hands in coming weeks and months going, I want to start this. I actually think the crazier the pro-aborts are, the more we'll have students really raising their hands and wanting to speak out. We're going to be growing our leadership fellowships. That's why we're here in DC for our National Leaders Collective. I think I called it conference earlier. But we have our 200 top student leaders across the country are here right now because we have 10 different fellowship programs. So we have captains for our Students for Life Action. We have spokespersons. We have Christian fellowships, art and music fellowship.
Hildegard fellowship.
Men's fellowship.
Invictus.
We have all, name it, you name it. We've got it. Expanding our online training portal, Students for Life HQ. A lot of people may not even know this, but you can go to studentsforlifehq.com. Studentsforlifehq.com. You can sign up, and all the trainings that we give students on campuses, you can get for free. They're already digitally recorded, and it doesn't matter your age. Like anyone can do them. So we really need to expand that. And then, expanding our workshops. We just launched these political workshops in states. We call them political leadership workshops. We're trying to really show pro-lifers, because I know folks who come to the pro-life movement, they're not innately political, and they don't really like the political.
100%.
So we've really had to do a lot of work of, I know you don't like this.
Yeah.
However, this is an important part of what we do. And as we've all been able to see, electing leaders can make a difference. It's not the be all end all, but this is a significant way that we can save lives. So we're going to be expanding those. All right. So drive the culture.
Yes. And can I just say something really quick about the political stuff?
What did I do wrong? Yeah.
No, nothing wrong. Right. No, but like we did the Georgia recall election. We went and brought 180 students with us, I think.
That was crazy.
And at the end,
this was the U.S. Senate. No, it wasn't the recall. It was a U.S. Senate. What do they call it?
Runoff. Sorry, runoff. I'm not political. I'm sorry.
This was in 2021.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the U.S. Senate races in Georgia were really close. And so they had a runoff because they have some weird rule in Georgia.
Yeah. But we...
we lost, by the way.
Well, we lost that, but we won in other ways, which is what I was trying to get to, is that when students, like that whole political thing is demystified and they do it and they realize it's not so hard. That's what I like about the political action trainings is I had everyone at the end, like, raise your hand if this is the first political mobilization you've ever done. And like 80% of the students, it was the first thing they'd ever done. And I think we've had over half continue on with doing more mobilization. So I just think it's really important because I'm on that side of the pro-life movement that's not super political. Sorry. I'm your test pig though.
Yeah, it's true. If I can get you excited about it, I know I got it. No, it's true, because the students that came out to that was a hard election, because that was during the whole like Donald Trump saying the election was illegitimate, whatever. Yeah. But we knew we had to keep these Senate seats. And so we ended up losing, but we knocked on 70,000 doors, but we ended up winning in the sense of that every student who came, they the comments we got were, I've never been involved in politics, but now I know how important it is. And really, I think they learned too, like, it doesn't matter when you're knocking on doors and you bring up the word abortion, you're still talking about abortion. You're not really spending your time talking about the candidate. Yeah. And so they found a way. It's like, wow, this is a really great way to test my apologetic skills. Yes. And so they had a lot of, I think, meaningful conversations for them. Yeah.
But I'm just excited because that's actually a brand new thing that we just started.
Yeah,
so
that's right.
Of all the things you've listed so far for this are things we've pretty much already done. This is like our newest thing. So I just want to highlight it. Join us for a political leadership workshop.
That's right. Coming to a state near you. You can even host one. If you promise us 25 people will come.
Yes. All right. So drive the culture. Sorry.
All right. So driving the culture. So I think it's important to note that SFLA does not play to polling. This is a point of division sometimes in the pro-life movement. I get a little angry about. I think there are organizations that look at polling and then say, okay, great, I'm going to play to that polling. And we use it to inform us of what we must change. And I think that's really, really important, that we change the polling. We don't play to it. And so that's why, we'll continue to do what we've been doing for the past few years of hosting semester-long campus tours. We'll visit, 180 campuses, having one conversation, measuring the number of conversations, measuring the minds change. This past year, we averaged a 10% in-person mind change with our spring and fall tours. My speaking tours on campus will continue with more security. I'm really hoping I get more protests. You all know I love protesters.
So last night when we were meeting with the group of the year folks, she promised if they could guarantee her protesters, she would definitely come to their campus. So I don't know what that means.
Yes, I love protesters at events. They make them so much more fun.
And that you demanded signs. You also wanted signs.
I wanted, more offensive signage on campus. I think sometimes the students will have groups, they want to host, like, we're having a pro-life speaker who just loves you. We're pro-life because we love everybody. No one comes to that because people come to events on campuses, especially if they're mad. And so I'm like, we got to get more offensive with our signage. Like, you're a moron. Come here. Why? Like, people like, you know, they'd be like, how dare her? I'm not a moron. I'm studying, you know, biomedical science something. She's the idiot. I'm going to go tell her why. Great. Come, please tell me why. So I'm trying to, I was trying to really pep the students up for it. Some of them liked it.
No, they were into it.
The Penn State students were like, yeah, we can do that. We can do that.
No, they were into it.
I was mad at them because I was on their campus and they didn't have any time to go to the Berkey Creamery. Penn State taught Ben and Jerry's how to make ice cream.
I didn't know that.
It's the leading ice cream school in America. They have this
Wow.
whole it's a whole thing.
So
and
why
then
didn't you tell me that before I went to campus?
I didn't know you went. You can order it and they will ship you the ice cream from the Berkey Creamery. But I was mad because my speech was right next to Berkey Creamery. By the time we got out, it was closed. And I had no time for the ice cream. So they have to invite me back so I can go back. So.
Yeah, little known fact about Kristan Hawkins is that there was a point in time when she was traveling, she tried to go to every diner.
Yeah.
What was that?
Well, I would do like the diner drives and whatever.
Yeah.
What's that show on Food Network? I memorize things by food. So I can tell you, like, I can't tell you the person's name I might have met with at a diner, but I can be like, I know where they get the best omelets in Seattle. Yes. Like, I can, that's what's important to me. But my husband's like, how do you remember that? I'm like, I don't know. I just can remember what we were eating. I enjoy food, okay?
And I'm going to drive 30 minutes out of my way to go to this bakery. To
The craziest thing I ever did was one time I was speaking in Oklahoma, and I was in Oklahoma City, and I needed to get to Tulsa, and I was like, the pioneer woman.
Oh, I remember this. Yes,
I drove like 3 hours out of my way in the middle of the night. I think I was talking to somebody else. I was watching some pro-choice documentary on Netflix while driving because to try to keep myself awake. I had time.
I don't hear this.
I was against the driving policy. All I had time for was I could go to the Mercantile for breakfast. It wasn't that good, but I did get some really great souvenirs.
Yes. Funny.
And then I had to go to Tulsa. So yes, I do crazy things sometimes.
Yeah. So back on track. Sorry.
Back on track. Okay. So driving the culture, campus speaking tours, obviously the Christian Music Festival, which is ongoing, which we're actually asking Christians to sign up to pledge our summer of service, which is, you know, hopefully leading into the Standing With Her National Sunday effort. Our ongoing mind-changing campaigns and research is really important. So we have a student life called the Dimitri Institute for Pro-Life Advancement. And that's where we invest hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, it gets really mad, into research of how to kind of change mushy middle hearts, young hearts about abortion. And that's hard. Like those are the people that make me want to bang my head against the wall of the I don't like abortion because I'm like, well, obviously you don't mind it if you're willing, you know. I much would rather engage with extremists who, you know, admits that they like abortion. But then we take that research, put it online,
and test it.
And then we run campaigns. So part of our Abortion Free Cities campaign, we're running digital ads now in 12 cities. And I mean, we're changing on average 18% of the young people we reach about their views on abortion.
Yeah, that's some of our quizzes, it's 25%.
Yeah, it can get to 31. The Planned Parenthood one, some states can get to 31%. We've actually found it's much easier to change a young person's mind about Planned Parenthood than abortion. So watch out. We're doing that. Electing leaders. Persuading them. So step one is electing them, and the second thing is them persuading them to do the right thing, to change laws. And we've talked a lot about this on especially pro-life chemical abortion. Yeah, passing laws to restrict access to chemical abortion, protect women from the dangers of chemical abortion, which result in injury, infertility, and death. You've heard that phrase like 20 times already this spring. You should memorize that yourself. But also getting like state attorneys general to enforce existing laws in the books. We've got some creative solutions, which I've alluded to on this show, but not fully talked about yet, that we're going to be trying to throw up on the wall and see what sticks. Kansas. I was just in Kansas. The Hawkins family RV'd into Kansas City about a month ago to kick off our door knocking campaign for the Value Them Both Amendment. You're going to be hearing about this a lot because August 2nd on the ballot will be an initiative in Kansas. Essentially, this is what Planned Parenthood is going to try to do. They're going to try to get state Supreme Courts to, quote unquote, find a right to abortion in invisible ink in their state constitution. And that will do is it will invalidate all the abortion laws in the state. So in Kansas in 2019, that's what their state Supreme Court did. And so this is a ballot initiative August 2nd that basically all it says is there's no invisible right to abortion in our constitution, which would let Kansas then pass pro-life laws. So that's going to be huge because the abortion industry is going to kind of use it if we lose to say this is a mandate from middle America that they're pro-Roe, which it's really not. The ads they're running, the pro-abortion industry is literally running ads that sound like it's an anti-mask. It was the most deceptive yet single-handedly brilliant ad I've ever seen. They are running like the last thing I saw was like a $3 million ad buy for ad for this campaign, and it looked like if you're against masks, you should vote for this.
Interesting.
They didn't even use the word abortion or reproductive rights at all. It was crazy. Special sessions. We've got about 7 states we're targeting to get special sessions. So, for example, Indiana, this great pro-life state, they still have abortion. They don't have a trigger law that's valid. We need the governor and the legislature there to call a special session to make abortion illegal. Florida, everyone gets, all upset. We did a map the other day, but it was like, because we said no protection. We labeled states like protection at conception, protection at heartbeat, or no protection Post-Roe America. And Florida was in the no protection. And everyone gets all upset because everyone loves Governor DeSantis. Why don't you call your friend and tell him to host a special session? Because all we've heard is, well, after November.
Well, remember, 95% of abortions are still legal in Florida. 95%.
Yeah. Thank you. Midterm elections, obviously this is going to be huge because we've got to make sure, Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer do not get their way in getting a pro-abortion majority in Capitol Hill, because they've been very clear. They will pack the Supreme Court, meaning they will add new people to the Supreme Court. So it's more than 9 people. And they've already passed twice in the House. They can't do it in the Senate because of Joe Manchin, but all pressure is going to be on him. They want to pass a bill that would go further than Roe versus Wade did. Say abortion's legal in all 9 months for any reason, and those abortions must be taxpayer funded. All of them. And they've already passed this in the House twice this year. Twice. So this is a significant something we need to look for. And this is what Joe Biden and President Biden already called for. And then once we get into the state legislative season after the election, all these states that don't immediately move now or in a special session to restrict abortion, make abortion legal, we got to go back into these states and ban chemical abortion, introduce abortion. We call it our early abortion model. We just had protection at conception introduced in Michigan, which I was really excited about. It's a life at conception law plus a ban for chemical abortions. And I think that it sounds redundant because you're like, well, if you have a bill that bans all abortions, why do you need a bill for chemical abortions? We're basically trying to cover all the bases. And so we put them into one protection conception bill. We're hoping to get that inspired.
And then on top of all that, I know this isn't one of your points, but we're watching the Biden administration try to do everything else they can in other areas. So we've got HHS with their 1557 rule change. We've got Department of Education with the Title 10, which you can find out about that on other places in Suits Fight. But it's all these things that are happening politically, but also the administration is trying to push some pretty crazy things to fund abortion, make abortion more available, that we just are always keeping our eyes on. So
they're not, the main thing you need to understand is they're not going to just go away.
No.
So they want to get chemical abortion pills over the counter by the end of the year. The Biden administration is going to be actively using our taxpayer dollars at the Department of Justice to fight back against all the laws we're trying to pass. So it's going to be a tough year. Hopefully Joe Biden, gets distracted on something else and, trying to save the economy from a recession. But I don't know. It doesn't seem like he really cares, to be honest with you. All right. So attack the abortion industry, promote nonviolent alternatives. This is kind of the fourth, play area for us. This is important. We had our Christian Schools Project, which has made me real popular. real popular with Christian school presidents. It's real exciting to be me. But we're ranking and holding Christian schools accountable for the relationships with Planned Parenthood. We've seen dozens of Christian schools drop relationships with Planned Parenthood this year. We're going to be promoting that. But the main thing we're really doing when this kind of play area is our campaign for abortion-free cities and our Standing With You efforts. Standing With You is this comprehensive website that our team has built where you can begin an online chat with a representative at Heartbeat. You can call a phone number and you'll get connected instantly with someone from Heartbeat or Human Coalition.
Or you can plug your zip
Or if you're like
code
me and don't want to talk to anybody, you just plug in your zip code and you find all the public and private resources. We're constantly adding to the site. We're actually having to hire someone just to do the vetting of all these new resources. But then through our campaign for abortion-free cities, then we're committing ad money where we're spending a lot of money, 7 figures into communities to promote this resource and get women and those who are being targeted by the abortion industry to go to this resource instead of going to Planned Parenthood. And then we're trying to measure, and we are measuring the number of calls and number of women served. So we've seen over 1,700 women connected directly with the pregnancy centers in the past year. I know there's been 35 confirmed baby saves. Which it's very hard to measure baby saves, but this has been significant for us in terms of really showing America that no woman stands alone. And that's why we're through the campaign for abortion-free cities, and I've talked about this before. We're not only we're running these digital ads, but we're actually knocking on doors just like we would for a political campaign. But instead of talking about a politician and their tweets, we're saying, hey, there's this nonviolent alternative down the street. Did you know about? And did you know about this horrible thing that's happening in your Planned Parenthood? It makes us also very popular. People love to be door knocked on a Saturday morning to talk about something that no one else likes to talk about.
But here's the thing. I experienced it yesterday. I knocked on 2 people who were pro-choice.
Yes,
One
and
even
the
told
day
me,
after Roe was reversed. We had students, just so you know, the day after Roe versus Wade was reversed, what were we doing? Were we celebrating? Were we drunk on champagne? No, we hit the streets to tell people in suburban Maryland, one of the most liberal places in the country, about the violence of abortion, about the nonviolent alternatives that exist. So just keep that in mind the next time people say pro-lifers don't care. Now, tell us how that went, because I'm sure it wasn't easy the day after Roe fell to be knocking on someone's door.
Yeah, some people had worse stories than me, but I had 2 that were very pro-choice. One told me immediately, I donate to Planned Parenthood. But I was able to say, well, do you know about these other services? And they weren't familiar with the pregnancy center. And they both took a postcard with more information about Standing With You, because I think there's a lot of common ground that Standing With You creates, because Planned Parenthood doesn't offer diapers or parenting classes or formula or prenatal vitamins or all these other resources. Nothing about
Planned Parenthood do they provide.
Yeah. And so I think they both took it and were like, oh, that's interesting. Give me that information. So it was actually more positive, even those maybe could have been negative interactions, because we're doing something with Standing With You. Yes, it's pro-life, but it's also something that should be common ground. And I love when we first started talking about this campaign is that we might be the first interaction someone has with the pro-life movement. And so to be this positive engagement is good. But so I didn't get harassed. Other people did.
Some of our students got harassed. We heard some interesting stories.
Someone got in their car and started following a couple of the girls around and whatnot. But overall, I think everyone had a really positive experience. People passed out bumper stickers. I know someone took a yard sign. So
that's important what you just said, because I forgot about that. Because when we were doing the first wave of our research for our institute, we did mushy middle women. And now we're doing men, and men, shocker, vastly more complicated than women on this issue.
Yes.
But it was interesting because when we did the qualitative interviews, these 1 hour to 2 hour one-on-one personal interviews, every woman was asked their first recollection of seeing pro-life, seeing a pro-life person, seeing a pro-life event. And all of them had a negative first interaction with the pro-life movement. And so
a protest, pro-lifers were yelling, they were angry. It was
I know. And so that's something it's hard for me to quantify of when we're actually changing that narrative when we're knocking on their doors. And I need to put that.
And we're happy.
I need to write this down because this was a really
and
good thing. I need to write this down right now. This is what happens on this podcast. You'll see me on my phone. I'm like writing things up like, oh, yes.
Oh, no, we have to pause for
No,
this.
we don't. No, we don't.
Oh,
I just type the whole time.
You just type the whole time.
Sometimes I do this all the time on the podcast because I have ideas. Like, this is just
you know, I'm in trouble with Kristan Hawkins because I stopped watching her podcast a few months ago.
Right before we started filming, I was talking about the podcast, and then Tina, who is the podcast queen, who listens to all podcasts and all the time, is always telling me, "Did you listen to the podcast?" And I'm like, "No, I don't listen to podcasts. I have a podcast show and I don't listen to podcasts. This is the woman that listens to all podcasts, but then apparently I don't even make the cut because she's sick of hearing my voice or something because she has to hear it all day." Like,
I get a Kristan podcast every morning at 9:30 a.m. I'm just saying.
That's true.
I don't need this.
We should just start recording those meetings. Those would get us in real big trouble with the pro-life movement. All right, what are your other hard questions for me?
I mean, that's really, those were it. Hitting those, like, what are the core things we're doing? I guess what if anything has changed for Students for Life at this point?
Yeah, I mean, I get asked that question a lot by the media. And, you know, I was kind of mean in one interview, but I was like, yeah, some people have to like change names and change organizational structures, but we don't. Like, we're the same. And everything that we've laid out for the next couple of years strategically at Students for Life, that continues on. I think we'll be elevating, obviously, and escalating the amount of time and resources we spend, especially on fighting chemical abortion, or, you know, the spend. I sent an email the morning I knew Roe was going reverse on Friday morning to our supporters, of like kind of inspirational message. And I was like, yeah, and we need a lot more support. We want to spend $3 million on election. I need 6. So anybody got 3? Like, it was like a bidding situation of like, we need to double these things, right? We need to go above and beyond and be more aggressive. I think that's kind of our biggest thing, is how to rapidly expand, amplify, grow, because this battle has now become so large. But no, we're not changing. You know, our mantra doesn't change. I mean, I still think we're the pro-life generation. We need to throw in we're the post-Roe generation. But eventually, I was talking to somebody the other day, and they were like, we need to stop saying Roe because that's looking backwards. So I don't even know how, you know, we'll say it for a little bit until it kind of fades from the collective memory, and then we'll just be the, you know, the pro-life generation. One thing I did say when we were filming a video earlier talking about the history of Students for Life and what we've been doing, and I think it's important for us to note, is that I don't think reversing Roe versus Wade was our calling. I think we were able to be there, and we were the beneficiaries of the OG pro-life generation that you know, since 1973 refused to stay silent. And yes, we've come alongside those pioneers, those first leaders in the pro-life movement for the last 16 years, and we've been able to amplify and bring them on social media, make them a little hipper. But that I don't know if that was what we were called to do, because I feel like that was already in motion. And we were certainly able to help. I mean, obviously the election of Donald Trump, once again, I'm waiting for those apology notes to come in, was significant because we got those 3 Supreme Court justices, right? But those kind of wheels, I mean, think about like Phyllis Schlafly, one of my heroes, my mentor for a number of years. I mean, she is the reason the Republican Party is pro-life.
Yeah.
Because of the dogged determination of this one woman who like made everyone angry all the time. And so those wheels started in the 70s. I think the question for us is, what is our calling? Like, what is it that we were born to do? And I think it's this post-Roe generation doing something that's never been done before. I mean, I was thinking about the end of slavery, the end of the Civil War, the failure of the Reconstruction effort. I was thinking about that today. Like, I don't know. I mean, I was a history minor. My husband was a major in history. I'm a huge Civil War buff, as you all know. I've taken my kids to, you know,
as many as you can.
Many as I can, Civil War sites. So that gets us excited. But no, it's so weird. So it's weird white people things as well. Well,
it just flashed back that before you guys came to the barbecue at my house, you had to stop and see where they buried someone's
Stonewall
arm.
Jackson's arm. Hello, that was huge. That was so cool.
I was like, that's what you're doing before you come to our house for the barbecue?
We were late because we were champagne. Yeah, it was right. But no, like you think about the end of the Civil War. And you remember, like in your history books, they talked about the abolition movement. You heard about Sojourner Truth, but like, what happened to the abolitionists after the end of the Civil War? Mm-hmm. You had a lot of them, I think, probably joined the movement, trying to get the freedmen's bureaus and helping African Americans move from slave to full emancipated citizen. But like, you don't ever hear about this movement. And because I don't think it was done. Yeah. It was largely a failure. I mean, it took 99 years from the end of the Civil War to the 1964 Civil Rights Act. Yep. You had Supreme Court sanctioned discrimination multiple times. The Supreme Court affirmed that Black Americans still weren't full equal members of our society, even though they weren't slaves anymore. Mm-hmm. So like I think our calling is really, we've got to do something that's never been done before. Mm-hmm. We've got to put back this country. And we have to ensure that no woman stands alone and stands beside her and make abortion unthinkable, but also then work state by state to make it unavailable. Mm-hmm. I think that's really going to be our calling. And so, get on with it.
Awesome. Well, thank you for letting me join your podcast interview today.
Thanks for interviewing me. It was a lot easier to be interviewed than to be the interviewer, actually.
Oh, that's good.
I like this format. You might be coming back.
All right.
All right. Thanks for joining the Explicitly Pro-Life podcast today. I hope you enjoyed your guest, Kristan Hawkins, and the host, Tina Whittington from Students for Life. Make sure you subscribe anywhere you get your podcast and share this episode with all your pro-life friends and family, not your pro-abortion friends and family, not this one, because this one talks about strategy. Bye, guys.